Welcome to Rugby Tonight, the best bits. We've got another great show lined up for you as we're joined in the studio by All Blacks legends Jonah Lomu and Ali Williams. And we have the usual insight and analysis from Dallaglio, Ben Kay and the team. Enjoy.
We can't have two legends like this at the game here without asking you about New Zealand's campaign, and it's been pretty impressive, isn't it, so far, let's face it?
No, it has. It has been impressive. They're doing exactly what they need to do. They're winning, like people talk about close scores and so forth, but, it doesn't matter just as long as you have the W next to your name and you're going to the next stage and you get another week. They've got another week and they've got an opportunity to defend the title. And it's something that they're on the cusp of doing something that no other team has done yet, and that's win back-to-back World Cups. And that is great. But in saying that, though, you're playing against the Australians, which is the only team that has beaten us this year. And, so it's going to be a humdinger of a game. It's almost like it's a fifth Bledisloe. So, but it's a different beast when you play the World Cup. I keep saying that to everybody. It's different from test matches and so forth because, you're in each other's back pocket for eight weeks. And, loss of form, things like that, but just finding yourself, it's your unification as a team. You find yourself, you find the heart to be able to carry on. And when you get into those deep and dark places that you will find yourself in test matches, that's when you find out how good you are, how good your teammates are, how far you're willing to push yourself. And sometimes the point of difference is the people that are sitting in the stands. Because when your gas tank is saying empty, they're filling you up. That's the one that picks you up and gets you to the next ruck, to the try line. Yeah.
Ali, no one epitomises that approach to the game more than Richie McCaw. And it could be the most glorious swan song, the most glorious farewell. But perhaps the greatest rugby player of all time. You know the guy very, very well. What makes him so special?
Well, simple thing is he drinks more water than beer, if we're going to be honest. Hopefully that changes soon. But I think it's just his mental desire to push himself harder than anyone else can. Extremely humble guy, but just when he wants something, he'll do everything, sacrifice anything. And for him, the biggest thing in his life is the black jersey, and that's basically why he's so good. The greatest, yeah, for sure, I reckon. Behind maybe the ultimate here.
The thing that's different about New Zealand, you talk about the other teams and their strengths, and New Zealand are pretty strong at them all, and the fact that they've got threats all over the field. So if you defend one way of playing, they're clever enough and they're intelligent enough with their decision making to go where you're not defending as strongly, and that's what sets them apart from everyone else.
Ali, do you reckon that performance against France in the World Cup that we've just seen, was that potentially the finest World Cup performance we've witnessed?
Yeah, I'd say so. Purely because of the fact that things came off and it was open rugby. I think if you look back at the match, that first half an hour was quite a tight-fought contest. And then when things start going your way, they go your way. And when you've got loose-head props who have just flown in four days before doing offloads and things like that, you know that it was your day. And it was quite interesting because I went and saw Steve Hansen before that, the night before, had a glass of wine with him, because that's what we do. He was so nervous. I hadn't seen him that nervous for a long, long time. Normally he's the humorous one that's making all the jokes, but he was very nervous. And that was coming through all the team. They really respected the French, but they also had that nerve and that fear of failure, which for me was probably the catalyst for why they played so well.
Well, listen, it's been very All Black centric at the moment. We need to hear from your cousins across the sea, across the ditch. We should have former Wallabies captain, now of course with Harlequins, James Horwill with us. James, you look splendid. How are you?
Thanks very much. Yeah, you should see the other guy. He looks way better than I. He looks much better than I do.
Outstanding, outstanding. But what did you make of Australia's performance against Argentina?
Oh, look, I think they were very, very impressive. I think, you got to look at it. Probably wasn't the most complete performance that Czech would have been looking for, but I think they got the job done. I think the breakdown's always been a big part of the game. When we control the breakdown, when we do well at the breakdown, we tend to play well. And I think, when you've got guys like Poe and Michael Hooper playing as well as they are, and probably the unsung hero of that back row has been Scott Fardy. I think he does the work that allows Hooper and Pocock to do what they do, and because they're such freakishly gifted players, it allows them to do that. So I think Fardy's been sort of that glue that keeps the back row together. Certainly, I think on our day, when we play as well as we can, we feel we can beat anyone. And I think that confidence is something that Michael has been really strong about putting into the guys, is that going out there and being able to back yourself and live to the identity that is a Wallaby. And I think that's something that the boys have really worked on well. And I think, in the end, it's going to be a game, and we'll see who wins at the end. But I think it should be a fantastic final. I think the two best teams in the competition have made it to the final, and you can't always say that at times in World Cup. So I think it'll be a cracking spectacle.
Great stuff, great stuff. Now, without a doubt, the big conversation piece, Ben, is the salary cap, and we're going to discuss what has happened, what the plans are for the future. But certainly, what has happened is what has got under the skin of a lot of people. This feeling that the salary cap and the problems, the allegations, have been swept under the carpet. How do you read things? How do you see things?
I said on Friday night at the game when the news broke, really, that it's one of those horrible positions where sport meets business and business wins, and the whole legal wranglings of what they're allowed to say with the confidentiality agreements. But overall, it's tarnished Premiership rugby, and the fans are all upset. Huge outpouring on social media about what's happened and that perception that it's all just been swept away. But I believe that because there wasn't actual cast iron proof, that maybe Premiership rugby felt that they couldn't take it all the way, and so they had to come to some sort of settlement. And the terms of the settlement was that everyone agreed that it had to be confidential, because when you have a material settlement, there's no fault involved. You have to just agree that things haven't been done properly, rather than people have deliberately broken the rules. So look, I'm playing a bit devil's advocate there, because as an ex-player, you want a level playing field, and actually the fans do deserve to know what's going on, and they deserve to know that when they spend their money, that they're going to watch a fair competition. All I can hope now is, moving forward, they do seem to have, agreed the salary cap moving forward, that actually all these problems that we've been suffering are now going to be put to bed, and whether or not we find out who has allegedly made breaches, whether they're deliberate or not, that it never happens again.
There are myths about the French salary cap and how the money is spent in France. Is France the enemy? Is the top 14 the big beast?
And what was Toulon's salary cap? I
think it is. I think the French have quite clearly said that we want to be the number one tournament in the world. And if you're either Sansa, Super Rugby, if you're the Premiership, you're saying, well, what can we do to stop this? Because, you don't really want all the good talent just in one competition. So we need a collective buy-in and a collective decision that this is how it's going to operate, I believe.
What impresses you about Julian Surveyor? Because I think people may have been surprised when they suddenly heard that he'd come up to your record of tries for New Zealand. But his name has grown and grown and grown through this World Cup.
Yeah, it has. It's fantastic. The man is, he's making the jersey his own. And that's what you want. When I set the record, there was only 16 teams. There's 20 teams now, so I expect someone to beat my record. So but this is where you make your name, the Rugby World Cup. You can't get any bigger than this. So this is your opportunity. It doesn't matter who you are. If you want to make a statement in rugby, this is the place to do it, because you're playing against the best players in the world.